This one comes from Pettyrevenge, and it has 60,000 upvotes.
Whoa.
60. Is this the top one?
I think so.
Yeah?
Yep.
Okay. So this is the very top one in the category. You want to try to take 9 inches off our property? We'll take 20 feet of yours. We have lived in our house for about 8 years in a rural neighborhood in Arizona. About a year ago, this dude from California bought the lot next to us and threw a fit about the stuff we had on the property line. We had put a single fence pole vaguely where the property line was. We hadn't had any sort of land survey done. It was supposed to just be a temporary marker that became a permanent marker. Dude was absolutely livid that we had vehicles parked, quote, on his property. The very tip of one of our cars was touching the established boundary. He threatened to have our vehicle towed. So we simply had an actual land survey done, and it turned out that the property line was a good 20 feet into his property. Homeboy should have just let sleeping dogs lie and not been an asshole about a few inches.
Damn.
I've seen a TikTok about this, actually. I don't know if it's this exact same story, but yeah, it was basically like the neighbor, they wanted to put a fence up.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
It was like the neighbor didn't like the fence. And said that the fence was on their property line and to take it down.
Yes.
And then the neighbor just didn't put a fence back up, and then
Yeah.
she could never let her dog out again because she didn't want to pay for a whole fence.
Yeah, because it ended up being she got like the survey done, and then she had most of their property.
Yeah, something like
Their
that.
property, I think it was like something ridiculous. Like her property line like went into their driveway or something.
No, from what I remember, it was the fence. The fence was on her property.
No, but I think the actual survey though said that like it was like a lot of like what they had been accumulating as their property was hers.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure. It could
maybe we're reading two different stories. But
Maybe.
The story that I listened to was that the fence was on her property, and she said that she didn't like the fence. It's not her fence. It's their fence. Take the fence down off my property. And then when she did, they were just like, we're not going to put the fence back up. And then she had no fence for her dog. She had her backyard was open. She couldn't let her dog out anymore. And her dog ate and destroyed everything inside her house. That's what I remember. But
why care? Why care where the property line is? I just feel like that's such like a boomer thing to care and like have nothing better to do than to complain and like be annoying about little stuff like this. Like I could not care less.
yeah.
If we owned a property, like the property that we're gonna get, like I could not care less if the fence or someone's car was like slightly touching our driveway. Like I don't care. Why would I care?
Sure
Would
way.
you?
I don't know. I don't know how I'd feel.
I don't think I would.
We're about to find out next year.
Yeah, I guess. Okay, so there's a couple edits. I've had some journalists reach out to me and ask me for some comments, so here are the updates you asked for. Feel free to ask more questions for some clarifications or ask again if I missed yours. They provided the zip code, but it was redacted for GPS reference. It's a small rural neighborhood in the mountains of Arizona. All the houses are 3 to 5 acre horse properties. The roads are all dirt and unmaintained. It used to be a very understandable place to live. But in the last few years, it has been developed and property values have been going up, quadrupling since we moved here in 2016. This has attracted a crowd of people who care what yards look like, who simply weren't here when this was cheap. The neighbor is one of these new people. We moved here specifically because the neighborhood had a bunch of messy yards already, and we wanted to have lenient neighbors. We lived in harmony with our neighbors' junky yards for years. 2. The neighbor introduced himself by calling the county on a bunch of us anonymously. We knew he called on us because he was bragging about calling the county on several other neighbors for their messy yards, so whether he intentionally included us in the report or not, he brought the inspectors to the neighborhood. He came on our property by at least 40 feet before there was a fence to closely examine our piles of scrap metal. We caught this on camera and confronted him in text. It turned out he was very angry that he had purchased land next to a Suedo scrapyard. We had several cars in various stages of disassembly and piles of materials. Keep in mind, this is the country. This is normal out here. We're on 5-acre lots. Another detail that I missed in my original post, he isn't even living on this lot. He bought a lot with a very small cabin 3 houses down, along with the lot next to us, with the intention of turning it into an income property. After we confronted him in text, he confronted us in person in our front yard, leaning against our no trespassing sign and screaming obscenities at us. 3. We haven't seen him. Since we saw him on our security camera observing the survey markers, dismayed. It's entirely possible that we chased him out of the neighborhood. The people on the other side of his lot, who have an equally trashed yard from their small-scale pig farming operation that he should have known existed before buying the land, had such a bad experience with him that she had a restraining order on him. They are also having a potentially equally funny dispute about a shed that she built fully on his lot over 15 years ago, which means they're going to have to go to court over who now owns it, and our adverse possession laws are certainly on her side. Currently, we are building an ugly fence on the newly surveyed property line.
Jesus, this dude sounds like a nightmare. But yeah,
Oh
did
my
you know that if
God.
you build a fence line or a building or something on your neighbor's property and it's there for so long, it can then legally become your land?
No,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yep.
In Canada?
I don't know.
Oh,
I remember hearing about this at one point. I think it depends on where you are. Every state would be different.
yeah.
Every county would be different and stuff. But there are some for like these farms and stuff where like if you built like a field with like a fence line and you built it on the neighbor's property after like 10 years or something like that, then like the property line would now be like on that fence line.
Damn.
It was it was originally, I think it comes around for like farming and farming so that people don't have to like redo an entire fence line,
Yeah.
which could be quite expensive when it's like hundreds of acres and it's like it's meant to be like 2 feet 5 feet over the line or something like that. I think that's
Right.
where it came from, but yeah, crazy.
Damn.